Welcome back to another tier list. Today we're going to be talking about Invincible Army. Check the description for what the different tiers below mean. Google said I should stop talking about that if I want better engagement. So Invincible Army is sort of the Yuching heavy infantry force. I'm going to just kind of show off their basic fire team composition before we start. They have Zanshi fire teams and Invincible fire teams. So you kind of have the light infantry fire team, air quotes, but really you're going to be wild carding bigger things into that. Or you have the heavy infantry fire team. You can also fire team Guijas and Moangs. Generally not super interested in this, except again for wild cards. And then the forward fire team, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. But they do have a lot of wild cards and a lot of really good wild cards, like Shang-Chi. So let's just get into it. First troop option is the Gudan. They are basic light infantry, inexpensive, with some interesting kit like heavy flamethrowers and zappers. So they can fire team with your Zanshi, which is good because they add a lot of short range oomph. But the more interesting aspect to me is these one use camo forward deployers. These are inexpensive and pretty dangerous speed bumps. Your opponent's not going to know if they have a zapper or a flamethrower. In active turn, they can go after things that get a little cocky. And they're just inexpensive, and this army is pretty happy to have them. I think they're a solid B tier unit. You're not going to take them all the time. They do have Warhorse, worth mentioning. Yeah, they're fine. Zanshi. So, Zanshi really feel like worse Fusiliers in almost every way. They basically trade one ballistic skill for one willpower, which is often not great. It does make their specialists slightly better, but not really in a meaningful way. Mostly you're going to use one of these to create a Zanshi fire team because you want to do other things with this fire team. Outside of that, they're very basic. If you're spending orders on them, you're probably not overly thrilled, but they have their place. I think the paramedic, forward observer, and hacker all have their place. I would avoid any of the weapons, though, for this army. You have much better troops to put your weapons on. So the mech engineer, you're going to have a lot of heavy infantry in this army. That means there's the potential for a lot of repair work to be done. All of that said, you have other engineers in this army, plural, that kind of do this job, but better. If you're taking a Zanshi fire team, you can slap one of these guys in and then wild card whatever you want. And now you do get the San Diego die, the SD die. So you're going to take them from time to time. They are fine. Kishi, State Empire Tag Support Pilot. So I really actually like this tag pilot. It might be one of my favorite tag pilots of them all. That should be a tier list. But it's an 11-point regular order specialist. And the dodge, Fizz +3, and Gizmo Kit +1 are both pretty relevant to the Guija. I see the Guija as a tag that likes to get stuck in. It likes to be more aggressive than most tags. And I think this complements it on top of giving it a regular order. I like the submachine gun. I like the Gizmo Kit. I like, not that you'll ever really use this, but CC21 Martial Arts Level 1 is acceptable. Um, if you're looking for something to fill out your order pool, I like them. I'm going to stick them in B tier. That may be wrong, but it's okay to be wrong. Zhanshi Yisheng, this is your doctor. I think this is the only doctor in the army. It is. So that's okay. So here's the deal. They have to fire team with the Zhanshi. So that's not ideal. A lot of your things that you care about quite a bit, like Shang-Chi, are high enough fizz that a paramedic might be fine. And you're not always going to want to be taking the Zhanshi fire team. And outside of doctoring, this model is not good. So I'm going to stick it at the bottom of C tier for now. Chung Hee-jong. Oh yeah, also apologies for all the mispronunciation of the Chinese and Korean and any other Asian dialect and or language therein. But yeah, Chung Hee-jong, he's a character engineer. He has a ton of fun words. The big one is an engineer reroll -3. That's really cool on a Whip 14 model. He is BS12 and he actually has some good weapons like an AP combi rifle or a K1 combi rifle. The armed turret with AP marksman rifle is nasty and AP mines are always good. So all that's fine and dandy, but oh, he's also a repeater, which is really nice because he's not hackable. All that said, he's a weirdly aggressive engineer with BS attack, extra burst, moderately good short range weapons. But he has 1 wound and he's armor 1 and he's 30 points. I don't know if this army can afford to take him. I'm going to put him, I guess, under the other engineer. Yeah, you're just going to have a hard time fitting him in. He does... where is he? Yeah, so he counts as a Zhanshi, but he can wildcard, so that is better. But he just seems like a liability for your points, and you don't have as many points as you want in this army. Libertos, this is a new edition. This edition. That's a rough sentence. So, if you've played for a while, Libertos are kind of a menace. Even in their nerfed form, they are still quite effective. For deploying 8 dogged camo token with access to template weapons in the SMG chain colt or a mine layer with a light shotgun and a shock mine. These little guys are incredibly frustrating to deal with sometimes and can win you games. And they're 8 points. I think this army is super excited to have these. I am a big fan of the Libertos, and I think this army just really wants to have this inexpensive dude that can do so many things. And the camo token's a big deal. Sasha, the Xenotech Hunter, everybody has this. It's an interesting model with 4 deployment, specialist operative, and EM grenades +1 burst. Booty is situationally really funny. If you have the points, you're going to take it. But I do like the Libertos significantly more. I like the Kishi more as well if you have a tag. So I'm just going to stick these at the top of C tier. Sasha's fine. Has some ITS implications. I'm not sure how important those are. Warcore is a Warcore. This army's going to take Warcores often and try to convert their orders. But I can't put them above C tier. They are fine. If you have 3 points, you're going to take a Warcore. If you don't, that's fine. Okay, now I know right now you're looking at this tier list and you're asking yourself, why should I play Invincible army. Nothing good so far. Well, remember, this is a heavy infantry army. So give it some time. Let them cook. Speaking of, Dao Ying Operative Control Unit. Oh boy, these are ridiculously good. Specifically, the lieutenants. So you have 3 lieutenant options, and I would say all of them are good. You have a lieutenant +1 order boarding shotgun for 23 points. These guys have camouflage, by the way. You have a lieutenant +1 order hacker with boarding shotgun, also very good. It's a 0 Swick hacker. That's cute. And then you also have a Dao Ying lieutenant +1 order mine layer with shock mines and a multi-sniper rifle for 34 points and 1 Swick. All 3 of these are awesome. I am a huge fan. Early game, they cower and provide you 2 lieutenant orders to fuel your NCOs. Late game, they can actually do things. Turn 2 or turn 3, if you need to take a risk, or turn 3, you don't really care. That multi-sniper, quite effective. This hacker, as a desperation last turn push to complete an objective, right? This model is providing 3 orders alone to that hacking lieutenant. They're a little spendy, right? But they do actually have good stats. They've got mimetism, they got camouflage, they got whip 14, they have armor 3, BTS 3. This is an obvious lieutenant, and one that I think most armies would be pretty happy to have. I'm going to stick it in S tier. It might be closer to A tier, but I think in this army specifically, it falls closer to S tier. I think most armies in the game would love to have a model like this. They might not take it all the time, but just access to it is great. And I'm a big fan. All right, now we're on to some good, really good stuff. Shang Jesus, pretty premier basic heavy infantry, we'll call it. And I call it basic because it doesn't have mimetism. It doesn't have any sort of extra good skills. It's just good at everything. 6.2 is great. CC19 is great. BS13 is fine. Phys 14 is great. Armor 4 BTS 6 is great. 2 wounds is great. The hacker is fine. Boarding pistols on everybody's great. Forward observer is fine. You're here for the AP heavy machine gun with a tin bot firewall -6. All of these guys come standard with TAC awareness, so they are just built to be in a fire team. The AP heavy machine gun is just one of the best brute force machine guns you have access to, and it just does a good job, and it's not overly expensive. I love the Shang-Chi. I love them. They've got number 2, which can be relevant when stupid things happen. BS Shock is great. Terrain Toll is great. I love these guys. They're A tier. You're always going to consider taking them. Yan Hua. Huo. These are big S5, Armor 5, BTS 3, Arm Immune, Warhorse infantry with religious, which is actually really good too. They're BS 14, which is awesome. It gives you access to a multi-heavy machine gun, a HRMC, or an extra burst missile, or an extra burst missile with neurocynetics. And it's funny that they worded it specifically like neurocynetics +1 burst, which is just kind of funny because that also means the heavy pistol gets +1 burst in the arrow. That arrow missile is really fantastic. Can be really problematic. Worth mentioning. Where is this thing? Oh, it has some fire team options. Yeah, the FTO. So the heavy machine gun and the missile can fire team with Invincibles. So if you really want, you can. The HRMC is just amazing, period. And the Neurosynetics missile can just win games. It's so hard to deal with sometimes. You have to stack vision mods against it. And even then, you're always at risk of exploding. I really like the Yanho, however you say it. Um, but that said, it is expensive. It is it's a little bit harder to fit into your army. So I'm a little bit more inclined to put it at the top of B tier than A tier, but I am tempted to shift it into A tier. It is very good. Okay, Zuyong. Zuyong have a lot of cool things going on for them. They all have number 2, so they make your fire teams very durable. And they have a good mix of weapons and skills. They have a couple models with TAC-aware. TAC-aware heavy machine gun is good, though it competes with the Shang-Chi. The paramedic, I think, is a really, really, really premium piece here. 26 points gets you a 2 wound paramedic with a multi-rifle. So this guy is very dangerous within 16 and is a specialist and is on a durable body. Outside of that, the missile can be a little bit cute. Overall, these guys are a solid B tier unit. They are a good foundation to a fire team. You will use them, but they're perhaps not the best thing in the universe. Okay, Haidao. These guys provide a lot of utility to your fire team. And that's really nice. They're NWI, Vita, 1 Vita guys with shock immunes. They're basically 2 wounds, armor 3, obviously. BS13, and they just have a lot of skills. You can get a Red Fury, or a Chain of Command model, or a Killer Hacker with a boarding shotgun pitcher, by the way. People acting like Pano's the only one with good pitchers. We have an engineer here for 25 points. This is why I have a hard time with Chief Zhang. Is this guy is just so much cheaper, is an engineer, obviously isn't as good, but that's fine. He's 2 wounds, BS13 with a good gun. Like, it's just solid. And then this is, I think, your main linkable MSV in this army. MSV2, I should specify. So yeah, Haidao, great. I think you're going to take them pretty often. They splash into fire teams quite well. Okay, Zensha. I adore Zensha. These are heavy infantry infiltrators with camo. They have NWI and shock immunes. They're basically 2 wounds. They have primarily short-range weaponry. They do have a Mine Layer 2 profile, which is awesome. They have a Hacker with Trinity. This is so nice. This is such a flexible kit. And then they've got 3 different forward observers with different options here. I think Zensha are amazing. For a little over 30 points, I think you're almost always going to take one. These guys can complete mission objectives. They can fight up close. They can clear out trouble. BTS 6 Hacker is amazing. I freaking adore these guys. A tier. Not a lot of people have 2 wound infiltrating camo tokens that you can take 4 of if you really want to. Hulang are next up. Hulang, these guys, let's see. Yeah, so the FTO options, these 2 here, can wildcard in. They have a lot of interesting kit. They're very good in CC, kinda. They're high CC 22. They've got Berserk and Martial Arts level 2. They're all specialists. They have MIM 6, but their CC weapons monofilament only, which is just, it's not terrible, but it can be unreliable. They all have some sort of burst 4 weapon, be it combi rifle or submachine guns, and then a lot of different utility pieces like koalas or D-charges. Actually, they all have D-charges. Emitters, flamethrowers. I'm a big fan of the forward deploying mine layer with either Crazy Koala or AP mine. Um, these guys are really cool. They can do a lot of damage. The Min 6 is very, very fun. This is a first turn bully that can either go up and complete objectives or go up and murder and then drop into suppressive fire. And yeah, he'll probably die, but they'll have to work pretty hard to get him. So I'm a very, very big fan. Um, A tier for me. Not quite, not quite a camo infiltrating heavy infantry, but they're up there. All right, Lu Jing. This is a combat jump explosion troop. It is relatively inexpensive because it is also effectively 2 wounds with NWI. They combat jump on 14s. Obviously, you can give it a +3 with your Evo hacker. I'm a big fan of the hacker, who also has firewall -6 and a boarding shotgun and a boarding pistol, which is great. The specialist operative with multi-rifle decharges is also great. So yeah, these guys are S tier. And the biggest reason they are S tier is not because you're going to take them every time, but because their existence makes your army better. If your opponent is deploying first against you, they have to respect the fact that you could have a Lu Jing. And throughout the game, if they're not very good at their points costs, they might be concerned about a Lu Jing, because it can lose you a game. If you have an obvious lieutenant and this thing just combat jumps on it, boarding shotguns it to death or hacks it to death or whatever, yeah, that could be game over for certain armies. His existence makes the rest of the army better. You're not going to take him all the time, but he's always good to have. Next up, Hack Tau. Now truly the inferior Swiss Guard. It's a Mim 6 camo token, hidden deployer, with 6-2 move, which is quite good, CC attack 19, which is fine, and BS 14, Fizz 14, armor 5, BTS 6. This guy's really good. I quite like the NCO heavy machine gun. He's a little spendy. I think the missile is also +1 person active, which is pretty funny. I think the hacker is actually quite interesting. Another hacker with upgrade Trinity. Overall, similar to the combat jumper, their existence makes the army better. They have to respect the fact that you can have a hidden missile. But all that said, the points cost is very prohibitive, and you're just not going to have the points for it, I don't think. Mo Wang. I adore the Mo Wang. I will not... No, I'm joking. So the Mo Wang is a Mimetism, Armor 5, BTS 6, 2 Vita with NWI model. It also has stealth, by the way. There's 2 NCO options. I would usually consider the Spitfire, but that Disco Baller is quite nice on the Red Fury. Flamen Spears are always good. I love the NCO here. There is other NCO in this army. We talked about the Hawk Tau, but we still have a couple more NCOs to talk about. This guy doesn't need to fire a team to be effective. It can, but you're not really going to get the extra SD. So when you're considering bringing something along with it, you're probably going for some sort of order efficiency for a specialist or something like that. I love the Mo Wang. I think the Mo Wang is fantastic. They are just so affordable for a 3 wound Mim 3 fighter with NCO. Top of A tier. They're so good. All right, Bixi. Bixi is a really good wild card. She has a lot of skills: climbing plus, NCO, super jump, martial arts level 3, which is fantastic with an EMCC weapon. She's 6'2", multi-rifle zapper flash pulse, forward observer, lots of good things here. She dodges insanely well, dodges on 18s, and she dodges 4 inches, and she has MSV1. She's only really let down by the short range of her weapons, but you have an AP heavy machine gun fighting your way in, if that makes sense. Bixies, when you get to within 16 and they have some sort of mimetism problem, she can take it out. If you need to CC something, she can take it out. Now, she doesn't have any anti-material, but she's just very good. She's an A tier model, easily. Captain Kingao, he's gotten a lot better. He has ECM Hacker, base attack -3, which is nice. He's immune to MB, which is interesting, and he's got Warhorse. He is tough at Armor 5, BTS 6, and 2 Vita. He's fast at 6'2". He's got good weapons. I think he struggles a little bit still. I think he's much more viable than he was last edition. Last edition, he'd probably be D tier. This edition, I think he's somewhere in C tier. I think he's just expensive for what he is. I think you're going to take him sometimes for fun. Sorry, C tier. I think you're going to take him sometimes for fun, but I just think he's too expensive. I think you want a Shang-Chi instead. All right, Crit Cockram. Great name. This guy is amazing. He's got 2 fire team options. He's got engineer and NCO baked in, along with deactivators and gizmo kits and courage and all that. The Flarebalk and the multi-rifle with extra damage. He's just good. And he's an NCO engineer that can wildcard into your fire team. You are very frequently going to be taking this guy. Oh, I forgot his icon here. Let's see if I can... Let me see if I can fix that real quick. Where is Mr. Crit? So I think Crit is excellent. God, he's right up here with all of these guys. Yeah, I am a very big fan of Crit. I think he finds his way into your fire teams very frequently. Even this forward deployment mine layer is great. He's got EM mines and deployable repeaters, so you get flexibility there. I do recommend the FTOs, though. You want to use that NCO for your fire team. It's great. All right, Lei Gong. Lei Gong is weird. He's got Albedo 6 and MSV 1, so he can fight weird fights. And the multi-marksman rifle is going to be the best one for that. Outside of that, I don't really rate any of the other kit that highly. Yeah, he's a little weird, but I think he can slot into your fire teams nicely. I'm going to stick him in B tier. I don't think you're always going to have the points for him, but I think if you find yourself fighting a lot of MSV, if you can get him to the right range bands, he can be a real menace. All right, Tai Shang. Tai Shang was way overpriced last edition. This edition, I think she's come down quite a bit. She's weird. She's got NCO baked in, which is nice. 6th Sense, Warhorse, Forward Observer, just lots of good skills. BS-14's good. The Thunderbolt +1 burst is really interesting at 33 points. You know, it does make it burst 3, but it's at that kind of nice range bands that maybe you're interested in. I don't know. It's interesting. The Breaker Combi Rifle +1 burst is very dangerous. Overall, I think Tai Shang is much improved, but I think she's kind of like King Gao, where you're just not really going to be able to afford her as much as you'd like. Chain to Command I don't rate. It's another specialist option. On some missions it might be important, but I don't know. I think your Dao Yings are generally pretty safe. All right, the Guija. I think people sleep on the Guija. It is in many ways a basic tag. It's, you know, almost 80 points. It's armor 8. It's got a multi-heavy machine gun and a heavy flamethrower. But the big thing for me is the CC-22 DA close combat weapon at PS3. This makes it very hard to just kill in close combat or tie up in close combat. So I like the Guija. I've had success with the Guija. I think where you're going to struggle with the Guija is just making an army that can afford to take it. So I'm going to stick the Guija in B tier. I think you should try it. I really do. I think you are going to have a hard time fueling it, though. All right, flashbots. So AVA2 on the flashbot. You're going to be doing this a lot. Top of B tier. The TR bot, the 18-point Thunderbolt, is very useful for this army. It's a regular order, makes it interesting. So, solid B tier. Missile bot, I don't think this army is particularly interested in guided missile, but it is an option. C tier. The attack-aware bot, so let's me double check. The Wei Bing. It doesn't have any fire team options. Without fire team options, I think this is just C tier for this army. I think you have so many specialists baked into your army that you just have other things you're going to be doing. That's a shame. I kind of wish you could at least fire team it with like the Mo Wang. The Pangolin, so you do have a very effective combat jumper. Outside of that, it depends on if you're taking a Rushi. C tier, it's fine. I'm going to put it at top of C tier because you do have a great combat jumper, and the Rushi is very good. Ludon are weird, and I have a hard time figuring out what I think about them. MSV1 Hollow Projector, BS Attack +1 Burst with either a Mark 12 or Thunderbolt. The 20-point Thunderbolt is not bad. They're just not very durable. It's just weird. It's a weird thing. I really don't know where to rate them. I'm gonna put them in B tier. I miss when they had Hollow Mask because it didn't really make sense. But here, I still don't really know what you do with this thing. It's just so weird. Rushi, this thing is great. You can either have an MSV2 Spitfire or an MSV1 Red Fury with a Mine Dispenser. Both those are pretty good. If you're taking a Lu Jing, you're going to be pretty interested in taking a Rushi because marksmanship is great on that Spitfire. B tier. And then the little engineer Palbot guys, I think in this army, they're C tier. You don't have engineers that you're going to be taking without a fire team very often, so unless you're taking a Guija list, you're probably not going to be taking them. All right, well, that concludes my tier list. I think this is a pretty real representation of this army. There's not a lot of duds. In fact, I would say there's no real duds anymore. I could be wrong on Taisheng or King Gao. And there's just a lot of really solid options. This is a very flexible heavy infantry army that can kind of do it all. And I really think you should try it out. So thank you for listening. Until next time.